Happy Wednesday. Many thanks for joining the program, The News in Detail, with me, Gloria Mutisi. Starting us off tonight, some people have been spotted moving from one district to another using various modes of transportation such as lorries, taxis and motorbikes, as well as those walking on foot as the district lockdown has taken effect this Wednesday. Jane Mutoni starts us off tonight with this story.
At the Nyabugogo bus park, public buses are no longer there. Some people were sitting there looking for a chance of transportation to their families in other districts. Others are arriving there in lorries and taxi cabs from various districts apart from those in Kigali. A lorry brought me here at Nyabugogo. As I found it empty, with no buses, someone had told me to go to a gas station and find myself any lorry that can bring me to Kigali. By all means, the owners of the lorry charged me 10,000 Rwandan francs for transport. A district lockdown countrywide has begun effectively on Wednesday and will last for 2 weeks. However, some people are not adhering to this new policy as they have been spotted moving in and out of Kamonyi, Rulindo and Gicumbi district, which are areas around Kigali. I'm going home in Kamonyi district to visit my parents. The problem is that people had already scheduled to move to other cities. As you can see, we are traveling on foot. In addition to the district lockdown, 3 roads in Rijogosel, Nyarugenge district, have been closed such that they can instead be used by restaurants for more space for their customers in terms of social distancing. We usually come here for tea, but now due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we shall not be coming here with our cars or motorcycles. The Nyarugenge District Executive, Ngawonziza Amy, explains that this has reduced the issue of people being too close to each other. This was done in order to provide more space for clients of those restaurants in terms of practicing social distancing in alignment with the COVID-19 prevention guidelines, as cars or motorcycles won't be passing through those roads. This decision was also made to help in keeping their businesses up and running so that the workers at those restaurants or residents in those areas can be able to improve their well-being. The Minister of Local Government, Jean-Marie Vianney Gatabazi, is urging local authorities not to pardon those who violate the COVID-19 preventive measures, including those who do not comply with the district lockdown. There are various institutions in place which should be sensitizing people to adhere to the COVID-19 preventive measures and also look out for bars that are operating during this time in which they are not supposed to. On June 21, 2021, among the decisions that were decided during the cabinet meeting was a district lockdown for 2 weeks and that business services closed by 6 p.m. The curfew now starts at 7 o'clock in the evening. Jane Mutoni, RTV News.
Now, with the Rwanda Revenue Authority expected to collect more than 1.7 trillion Rwanda francs in taxes during the next fiscal year, economic analysts have noted that more taxpayers will be required to make that target possible. Serge Nore with the details.
A number of key national development projects will be funded during the coming fiscal year, which economic analysts like Joel Louise have noted that with the current situation the country finds itself in, further emphasizes the need for a push for such projects to be properly funded. The things you heard them announce as part of the national budget are absolutely necessary if we are to survive as a country. It is without a doubt ambitious, hence the need for more efforts to see it funded. The draft emphasizes the need to raise the economy at an individual level as well. Up to 1.7172 trillion Rwandan francs will be collected in taxes during the 2021-2022 fiscal year, 45.1% of the entire national budget, which experts believe means more taxpayers must be found. Another important matter I believe should be addressed is increasing the tax base. One popular approach globally has to do with taxing multinational companies, or what can be termed as international trade. When you look at transfer pricing, you may find that some of those companies are not paying taxes here, when they do so elsewhere. Observations have also been made that technology will have to be relied on to boost investment and spur faster economic recovery.
When you look at what does it mean to invest in Rwanda, one of the things is definitely the steps and drives government is making towards enabling technology. We have things like Kigali Innovation City, which is a key government initiative to ensure technology-driven products are available in the market.
The country will also take loans amounting to 17% of the national budget while paying back just 3.5%. First of all, when people say that the debts have exceeded favorable levels, they tend to forget that no one planned for the COVID-19 pandemic. You must also look at how that money was strategically invested in saving lives. What would be the point of having no national debt if we all died of this virus? Rwanda's national budget during the 2021-2022 fiscal year will stand at 3.807 trillion Rwandan francs, an increase of 9.8% compared to the previous fiscal year.
Employees and employers are being advised to improve dialogue to ensure better productivity and better service delivery to avoid dragging the government into unnecessary litigation due to staff management. This was mentioned during the National Council on the Code of Conduct for public servants. Ghislaine Mugoneza has that story.
People in different authorities point out that misunderstandings between employees and employers are the root cause of poor services.
There are performances that lead to corruption in central government. Corruption in central government is on 51.4%, and it's on 61% in local authorities and on 58% in private sector. That means that not only local residents recognize the performances, but it is also visible in documents as well. There are employees that were fired due to poor working performances, mismanagement of people's properties, nepotism, and lack of transparency.
The chairperson of Transparency International Rwanda, Marie Immaculée Ingabire, assures that poor services are still being recognized in local authorities due to the poor performance found in public servants. The employers do not care about monitoring their employees because of knowing that no one will ask about them. Even though we appreciate how services are provided in public authorities, there are weaknesses that are still being found. That is where corruption and injustice come from, and then the government end up having conflicts with a resident. And when a resident starts hating the government, it is leading to hating the country. Favoritism is there, corruption is there, and nepotism is there. The Executive Secretary of Rwanda's Public Service Commission, Angelina Muganza, says that there are employers that do not care about their employees, which lead to the losses incurred by the government due to the lost court cases. The officials just say that the employee is fired. You find out that he's been fired while no follow-up was done. There are others that tell us that I will fire him and pay if he raises a case. And we could ask ourselves, who owns the money you are giving? We knew that it's for the government. What we have seen is that the government ends up paying much money on the employees that have raised cases. The Minister of Public Service and Labour Fanfan Gwanyindo Kairangwa has noted that measures should be taken to improve the profession and promote ethical behavior in these unusual times. The public servants should play a role in the country's economic recovery through leading changes based on mindsets, having productive behaviors and working qualities, especially during these unusual times we're in. Let's take serious measures to correct the mistakes so that there would be no criticism. The National Public Service Commission points out that the mismanagement of public servants in different institutions is one of the factors that lead to an increase in losses incurred by the government. In 2017 to 2018, the government paid more than 224 million Rwandan francs plus $16,000 due to the 83 cases it lost against 43 public institutions. In 2018 to 2019, it paid 520 million in 65 labor institutions. And in 2020, the government also paid 970 million, including 761 million that would have been given to the employees before going to the courts due to the conflict between them and their employers. Ghislaine Mugwaneza, reporting for RTV.
To judicial matters now, Callixte Nsabimana, also known as Sankara, has told judges that he does not agree with the prosecution, particularly on two charges that include the formation of the FLN armed group. He is presently being prosecuted alongside other former MRCD-FLN leaders and fighters that include Paul Rusesabagina. Gabi Muvunyi with the details.
The trial continued on Wednesday with Nsabimana Callixte, also known as Sankara, being given the opportunity to comment on the sentence proposed by the prosecution of 25 years in prison. Nsabimana objects to the two charges. He denies the formation of the FLN and explains that he joined it when it was already in existence, and says some of the soldiers that are presently with him in court should be held responsible for the formation. Callixte Nsabimana touched on the Lieutenant General's Hamada Habimana's interview with the CNRD's YouTube and radio channel, where he pointed out that the former FLN was formerly the head of CNRD, formed by the general. Wilson Irategeka says the FLN was not formed by the MRCD as it was formed on June 10, 2016. At the time, the MRCD was not yet formed. Therefore, it was not among the founders of the FLN. According to the prosecution, Callixte Nsabimana pleads not guilty to terrorism for political gain. He explains that the MRCD-FLN's plan was not to commit terrorism acts but was killing people as a way to force the Rwandan government to accept negotiations. Callixte Nsabimana says the attacks on the Rwandan soil and its militants had been planned by Paul Rusesabagina, the former commander-in-chief of the MRCD-FLN, in collaboration with the Lieutenant General Wilson Irategeka. Sankara said the preparations for the attacks on Rwandan soil in 2018 and 2019 required financial means, and that Paul Rusesabagina was the one who put the effort into making this possible using his connections. Among his friends was a Lusaka businessman in Zambia named Nsengiyumva Apollinaire, who donated 150,000 euros used to carry attacks in Rwanda. The court also gave Herman Nsengimana the opportunity to comment on the case presented by the prosecution against him, this being the man that replaced Nsabimana Callixte as a spokesperson for the MRCD-FLN group. Herman Nsengimana pleaded guilty to being a member of the illegal militia known as FLN, but denied recruiting soldiers into the group as the prosecution accused him of. Based on this, his lawyer asked the court to acquit his clients because he does not understand why the prosecution is asking that he be sentenced to 20 years in prison while 399 of his comrades captured in the DRC were never prosecuted. The court proceedings will continue on Thursday. Gabi Muvunyi for RTV.
And in other news, vaccine experts acknowledge that even though there are more than 400 people who got infected with COVID-19, even after being vaccinated against the virus, it doesn't pose any concerns because the vaccines prevent them from being critically ill. The experts also attribute the deaths of 3 people that had been vaccinated to other chronic diseases that they had instead of the virus. A cross-section of people who have been fully vaccinated are blaming their colleagues that are becoming complacent after they got both vaccines without consideration of themselves and those around them. There are some people who think that just because they were vaccinated, they can't catch the virus. And so they become reluctant to observing the COVID-19 regulations. But with more awareness campaigns for people, perhaps they would understand the severity of this virus, regardless of whether they've been fully vaccinated. Just last week, the Rwanda Biomedical Center said 400 people who had been vaccinated had become infected. And this Tuesday, the Ministry of Health confirmed that there had been other 35 that got infected after being vaccinated. Among the people we tested recently, there were more than 35 who are infected, yet they had been vaccinated fully. The vaccine only protects you from becoming critical, but otherwise you can get infected. Among those, we haven't admitted any in hospital in critical condition, meaning that the vaccine is very important. But they should also know that even after vaccination, prevention is key for you and those around you. The Rwanda Biomedical Center says that 3 people that died even after they had been vaccinated succumbed to other chronic diseases that they had before. Dr. Antoine Muyombano says that it's not a surprise that one could die from other diseases even though they were vaccinated. A child who has been vaccinated against measles may die of a heart attack. It's not something we dispute, but they can't die from measles when their body has a good immunity to fight off other diseases. So whether it's HIV or heart diseases or kidney failure, if people have these conditions, they can't die from them even though they were vaccinated against COVID-19. As of Tuesday this week, up to 391,001 person had been vaccinated. We will leave it at that for today. Thank you for the privilege of your time. I wish you all a wonderful rest of the week. Of course, not forgetting to remind you to do all that's required of you to stop the spread of the pandemic. Otherwise, God bless you and keep you. And until next time, I'm Gloria Mutisi. Bye for now.